It is Wednesday, my dudes. It is Wednesday, my dudes. Wednesday, my dudes.
It is Wednesday, my dudes. We are here on a live show this Wednesday, and joined here, we're doing Duo Studio. It is me and Caleb here tonight. So, welcome in, Caleb, for our Duo show. Putting you on the
Hello,
hot seat
yeah.
here.
Hot seat, and let me reiterate, I am the number one fan. I know there's a lot of false pretenders out there, but I am not a sellout. Team Pup and Suds, I am the real deal, okay?
Yeah, so
So
as
hello.
catching late here on Twitter before the show, but we do have a We Talk Sports Good number one fan Twitter account officially out there on the Twitter sphere, and specifically targeting Caleb here as the number one fan. This account, not Caleb. So it's an aggressive approach already. It's gone straight on attacking you right away.
It is attacking me, but you know what? I will stand strong.
So we'll be here. Tweet us. Uh, I'm sure this new account might tweet us. I'm sure during the show we'll see. You call them out to see if they're listening. So I'm sure we'll get some feedback here, and as well use our Google text line at 972-677-8269. Either one. Get your thoughts on the show as we're bouncing around all kinds of sports here. We'll get baseball with opening weekend, 5-6 games in. New playoff format that happened after our last baseball show, so we'll talk about that. We'll transition into some football and maybe get to NBA bubble life as NBA starts back officially tomorrow for rest of regular season, not the just exhibition games. And we already have a first tweet at you back, so they are listening. They are make sure to say the self-proclaimed number one fan when talking about Caleb. Hashtag poser.
All right.
So
All right.
we will
I know
be.
who you are. I know where you live.
So
Actually, I don't, because you just moved. So you're anywhere right now. I don't know where you are.
so we'll get right into it. As I mentioned, baseball's 5-6 games in. Of course, you have the likes of Miami, the only team that can't control going out apparently and getting 18 players and coaches with COVID. So they are in a pause for this week. But the rest of the teams have played here about 3, 4, 5 games, kind of in that range. We're finishing up there's quite a bit of 2 game series kind of happening, but we have the new talk of, like I mentioned, the expanded playoffs as that happened after we did our preview show. So I made sure to tweet out my at least new predictions for playoffs, but want to at least talk about it, as I know you mentioned you're not the biggest baseball fan here, but we are expanding playoffs now so that we are doing 8 teams from both sides of AL and NL. And
Ooh,
what it'll be is the 3 division winners, the 3 second place teams in every division, and then the 2 wild cards. So
okay.
we'll have those 8 slots.
What is it? What is it usually? Because me, I don't really pay
Yeah.
attention to baseball.
So yeah, we're expanding from 5 to 8 as
Oh,
we've been at 3 division and 2 wild card with that wild card expansion to 2 wild card versus the old one. So that was 3, 4 years ago now, where it was just the wild card played the 1 game play in. Now we have 8 teams, and what will happen is you'll be seeded pretty much by your first place division, second place division, 2 wild cards, 1 through 8. And what will happen is it'll be a best of 3 series: 1-8, 2-7, 3-6, 4-5. However, the difference, instead of a traditional best of whatever series for this first round, it'll be best of 3 with the better seeded team always being home. for all 3 games. So no travel. So example, just picking one off, Yankees, Blue Jays.
Okay.
Yankees would play all 3 games at home, be the home team all 3 games in that best of 3 series. So short series and a lot can happen. However, you will at least get to maintain the home field advantage, which I think is the proper way to do it if you're doing 3 games. That seems, if you're the best team in the league, or in your league, AL or NL, you're playing the last team in who may be sitting around 500, and you're telling me I have to a best of 3 series, which easily can go bad quickly. You better give me some extra advantage here. So I feel like that's a fair way to do it. And on a short season, 60 game, I feel like already can pique attention to those who don't watch baseball for the whole season already. Does that make you even more interested to kind of pay attention?
No, not really.
Oh.
But my thing is, I like to go to the games and watch them in person. Now, when you prohibit me from being able to do that, I'm less likely to pay attention to it. Now, if NFL did something more similar, then yeah, I'm gonna more likely pay attention to other teams as just watching the Jets. Because right now, I mainly just pay attention and watch the Jets because that's just how I am. Now, I'll probably watch a couple Rangers games here and there. Might watch a couple Red Sox games here and there because those are the 2 top teams that I would pay attention to. But that's just kind of it.
Okay. Well, I gotcha. Well, with that changes a lot from prediction standpoint for me. I had Astros, Twins, Yankees as division winners. Then I had White Sox and Rays as my 2 wild card teams, which now my wild card teams are going to become just the second place teams and opens up a lot more. My NL side, I had Nats, Reds, and Dodgers with the Braves and Mets as my 2 wild card teams, which I was already kind of feeling a little risky putting 2 teams in the same division. Now that makes it easier. One just locks up the second, and the other one cannot lock up a wild card. So changes a bit and opens up because with the baseball preview, for those that did catch it, I had mentioned, it's going to be an extremely close race on a lot of these spots. In the old way, there was a lot of wildcard teams, and especially how I mentioned the NL, there was really only 3 teams I would consider in contention, the Pirates, Giants, and Marlins for playoffs. Other than that, I could see any team just getting hot and making the playoffs. So now, even more so, the NL having more opportunities really still made it hard. AL, honestly, I feel like I made it easy for my predictions. Could easily be very wrong. But with that being said, I wanted to kind of get into that first. On the AL side, I had mentioned I had Rays and White Sox. I really like the Rays. Going back to the last show, I love their pitching staff from starting to relieving, how they kind of maneuver their lineup to just always be productive. I have them going to the World Series and losing to the Dodgers, but I have them coming out of a wild card slot originally and doing that. Now I have them locking up that 2, which in my view they're going to be that 4 seed, so they're going to have that 4-5 and have that home field advantage. So even more in their favor, I think, can help. With that, I had the White Sox taking the second wild card, which I move them to 2nd seed in the Central. Like I had mentioned, I feel like between the A's, Rangers, and Angels, they were going to beat each other up enough, with the schedule being 40 games within your division, 20 versus the opposite NL, so AL West, NL West, Central, East. With that, I thought the West was good enough with those top teams, Astros, A's, Angels, Rangers, to kind of that middle part kind of keep each other down. So that's why I thought the White Sox, with getting to play the Royals and Tigers more often, would help them. That kind of made me lean with the White Sox taking that original wild card seed. So now I have the A's, who I mentioned last show. I thought they were going to be within a couple games of the White Sox. Now they easily can take a playoff spot. They're taking that number 2 seed. So I've got Astros, A's, Twins, White Sox, Yankees, Rays with those 1 and 2 seeds. Moving on for wild card now, Thomas had the Blue Jays making actually a wild card tie-in for the 2nd seed with the White Sox and a crazy play-in for a play-in. Now I think Blue Jays can lock in that wild card spot. So we're going to have 3 teams coming out of the AL East. And then I think the Rangers pitching staff, I know I had told Randall a few shows ago to preview the preview, I thought the Rangers would be competitive and in contention, but just miss. Now this opens up the opportunity, I think, for the Rangers to get that second wild card spot.
Go Rangers!
I think they can with the pitching staff. Kluber is now pretty much out for the year, unfortunately. Just pick him up, and now he's out, shoulders. I forgot what exactly, but he's 4 weeks for sure, no surgery. But by the time he can rehab and get back, he can basically only come back as a reliever. So that's a big hit. However, with Lynn Minor already being a straight 1 and 2, that just moves up Lyles and Gibson to 3-4, which in a normal year they honestly would be a perfectly fine 3-4. They're going to slide Colby Albert into 5. Had some potential. Regardless, once you make it to a playoff stretch, you might even be only running a 4-man rotation. So even into playoffs, you're going to only see a 1-2-3. I think they have the pitching. The hitting's been very lacking. They actually came on late today. They had an afternoon game. Lance Lynn went 6 innings with like 8 strikeouts. Was dominant. Rangers had Fraser a home run, blew the lead, down for 1, and then they went off and ended up winning 7-4. Gallo with a home run. I think that with that, they have, if their offense keeps getting better, which they need to, obviously, in a long run, but they can slide into that number 2 wildcard slot then. Angels pitching just does not sit well with me. I have Ohtani on my fantasy team, which not saying he'll be like this all year, but he's the only pitcher I would honestly go into the season trusting, and he couldn't even make it out of the first inning with an out. He allowed all 6 base runners, let up 5 runs, and so that technically means he has an infinity ERA. So, with that, there's not much depth behind the Angels in the pitching rotation, so I'm not going to trust them still to make a wild card spot. The Indians are going to be the biggest test to the Rangers. They've had a very hot start, great pitching staff, and they've started 4-2. My concern was their hitting, and right now, 6 games in, I'm not going to overreact. I think 20 games in is where we'll really be able to tell, at what point a team is truly in or out. But the Indians are going to be a very dangerous team now that there's another spot open. I already had a hard time leaving them out. I really thought the White Sox would come on strong with a lot of their young talent, but with the White Sox being such a young team, that might kind of put them in a weird position. They are a hit or miss, and the Indians could just take that number 2 seed, and White Sox completely miss. So I'm still going to sit with the Rangers there. Before I move to the NL, the new number 1 fan has a...
Yeah, it looks like we got a question there.
Yeah.
I was going to bring that up there.
So Juan Soto, he did test negative on his latest COVID test, so he is going to be playing in about a week. And word on the street is that that's going to take a Randall's fantasy team over the top and really dominate Dominic and the rest of the league. So yes, Randall is winning the fantasy baseball league so far. However, every day I have cut into his league, and he is correct on the sense that that is his best player coming back. I have now officially cut it to a 5.5 point lead because I have gained 6 points on him in a matter of a day. So with that, yes. However, I have as well my fair share of guys who have gotten off the slow start. So even though they've been playing, I truly expect more out of some of my top picks, like Mookie Betts, who had a little bit of a slow start. I don't expect Ohtani to be as bad as he was in his first pitching start either. I think I have plenty of bounce back guys who can make the gap a little less for Randall. So I will give him credit. His team has been extremely solid, but I will not say dominate the league. So I'll move over to NL then. And this is going to be the crazy side on it. And just opening it up, like I mentioned, Marlins, Pirates, and Giants are really the only team I don't see making it or making any real contention, but never know with a short season. So with that, of course, I mentioned Dodgers, Reds, Nats, and then I have Mets and Braves as my 2 wild card. Nats have obviously got off to another slow start. Without Juan Soto, it kind of has made me a little nervous, seeing how much, missed a little bit at the beginning, but I do really want to see what happens when Soto comes back. I think they still have the best number 1-2, Scherzer. Strasburg can 1-2-3 even with Corbin. I mean, that dominant 1-2-3, that's at the top. I think they can still bounce back and take the division, so I'm not going to change anything there, but I will now add in my new playoff teams. I will have the Padres now slide into the number 2 spot in the West. I'm big on the Padres youth talent they have. Tatis has just been great. Machado's been stepping up. Hosmer's even had big games. So I think I had them really close already to making the playoffs. Now this is just an easier slot them in at number 2. The Central's going to be tough. Reds, Brewers, Cubs, Cardinals. I still, of course, have Reds at 1. Brewers now, I have moving to 2. The Cubs are really tempting still as their offense has been great to start the year. I just feel like the Brewers, off of last year, they're going to still be able to continue the momentum. DH has helped the Brewers a lot, as most all NL teams, that extra pop, but I think Yelich will really start hitting his stride soon. So I'm going to take the Brewers to take that number 2 spot. And instead of for I know wild card, I had the Braves as my first wild card, so they will slot into the East number 2. And the Mets will slot into my wild card 1. And then this is where it got tricky. I really was tempted to put Cubs here. And I probably should have, but for some weird reason, I'm going to go way out there because it's a weird season. I'm going to put 4 NL East teams in the playoffs. I'm going to put the Phillies here. I think they have enough offense. And if Arrieta can be somewhat of his old self, they have enough with Wheeler, him. And now I'm going blank on. Wow. Well, give me a minute there. But anyways, if he can just be somewhat of his old self, I think they'll have enough 1, 2, 3 there.
What, Harper?
Pitching wise, yes, with Harper on offense, but on their pitching staff, because that was where they were kind of hurting the most is pitching. They have the talent on the offensive side, so if they could just get a little more out of their pitching staff. Aaron Nola, that's who I was thinking of. So if Wheeler's been good in his first start, Nola plays to his or above, and then if they can get more out of Arrieta than they had out of this contract, I think we can see something really weird, and we're going to have 4 teams from the NL West. So with that, that is my playoffs. I'm not going to change my teams winning the World Series. I'm still going to go Dodgers over Rays, and I'm not going to spend too much time going series by series so that we can cover other things, of course, here in the show, but I wanted to make sure I get into my expanded playoff picks here. It's been a really interesting start of the year. It's come out with a lot of firepower, just some fun games. You've seen teams like even Miami in the first series, they won 2-1, series 2-1, but Colorado's 4-1. That's a team that I was concerned about being streaky enough that they could make it. Pitching staff doesn't seem reliable enough, but they have such a great offense. So, but with this short season, if they just stay hot long enough, that could mean a second team in. They clinch that just because they had a hot enough start. So it'll be definitely interesting to see and follow throughout the year. And we're, of course, supposed to test Randall on his baseball watching here. So as we go throughout the year, we'll be throwing random things at him to see how much. But definitely fantasy baseball has piqued his attention here as he has taken an early lead in the league. So, and got to also throw out there, as we got Randall watching again, we were talking the other day, he had tweeted about the Mets getting absolutely stomped on the Sunday night baseball game, and just poor Mets fashion, just have the potential and then, or the hope or anything, and then they just get absolutely whooped. And Randall had tweeted, watching this 14-2 Mets losing game makes me want to be a Mets fan again. He had a couple Mets accounts tweet at him saying to join the Mets again. So Randall might be hopping back on the Mets bandwagon from way back in the day of Carlos Delgado, as he mentioned. So if you are a Mets fan, he is still thinking over his options. So go ahead and tweet at them and see if you can pull them over to the dark side. Anytime I think of the Mets, I mean, and I feel like they're the new Cubs. They're the lovable losers now. You always feel bad. Something weird happens. But I always see the video every time the Mets start the season of the Family Guy thing where Stewie's at a Mets game. And they're like, and it's the opening day for the Mets, and crack, home run. That's the end of the Mets season.
Yeah, being a Jets fan.
Yeah,
a lot of the same accounts that I follow for Jets sports are also Mets fans, so I keep up